the FY27 East Arts Workshop. The East Arts Award is for Black, Indigenous, Person of Color led organizations headquartered in Northeast and Southeast DC. Right. All right. Hopefully, y'all can see my screen. Lovely. And so we have a few of us are on the call today. My name is Patience Rowe. I am the grant manager, the grant management specialist for the East Arts grant. And I have some amazing colleagues here with me to talk about, to introduce themselves if they don't mind. We've got Ms. Danielle Pope, Melissa Laws, Faith Anderson, and two other of our grant managers might be joining us later. But if y'all would not mind coming off mute and introducing yourselves, that would be wonderful. Oh, Melissa, your computer. We can't hear you, Melissa, if you're talking. Yes.
Okay. I'm Melissa Laws, one of the contractors here with CAH. I am working along with Miss Patience on the East Arts grants and other grants. Nice to meet everyone.
We're introducing ourselves. I'm sorry, I
Yes,
didn't.
please.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
no, it's
sorry.
okay. I put y'all on the spot because I did put y'all on the
Oh yeah, no, because these earphones be going out, so that's why I didn't hear nothing, and I was plugging it up. So, hi, I'm Faith Anderson, and I'm a contractor here, and just as Melissa said, I assist the grant managers with their grant programs. Um, just assisting them now, helping them with the reports and the application process that are coming up. That's about it.
Thank you, Miss Faith.
Yes.
Miss Danielle, Miss Danielle has stepped out. So, Kristen, since it's just you here, usually I would have the organizations and folks put their names and which organization they're with in the chat. But if you don't mind, can you let us know what organization you're with?
Yeah. Can you hear me good? Because I'm on headphones too.
Yep.
Okay. So I am a part of B and C Culture Connection. So it's just me and the leader of us, Brittany Gulledge, who she'll be doing the grant. Um, I'm just here on behalf of us, just so I know like what to tell her. But we do a pop-up museum, and what we're trying to do is really look at like local histories. And so our first pop-up museum is focusing on DC Black pageantry. Um, we want to plan, and we have like two or three more planned, but that is what the grant will focus on. Just support when we apply, like the support we'll need for being able to put on these pop-up museums. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but that's kind of our spiel.
Nope, just want to know who's in the room. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no
you.
problem. No
And feel free to
problem.
ask any questions. This is actually your live chat now. So, yes, it's yours.
Okay.
For you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so some of the program goals for the East Arts Grant are to provide access to high quality arts and humanities experiences for residents of the Northeast and Southeast quadrants of the District of Columbia, enhance the quality of life of the residents by supporting vibrant community identities through the arts and humanities, support activities that highlight and elevate the creative excellence and accomplishments of arts organizations headquartered in Northeast and Southeast DC, and we'll talk about what headquartered means in a little bit because people have different definitions. All right, so East Arts is open for arts and humanities projects of all sizes that demonstrate district impact in Northeast and Southeast DC and engage district residents and visitors. These are community-based projects that share characteristics such as geographic location, common interest, or community impact, and they may include but aren't limited to concerts, visual arts exhibitions, literary readings, and projects that feature dance, folk art, film, music, theater, and other art forms. So the total amount of funding that is usually awarded is contingent upon the FY27 Commission on the Arts Humanities budget. We just had a budget meeting yesterday, or a budget hearing yesterday, so we'll see how that goes. The anticipated number of awards is based on the number of applicants, and usually the maximum amount of award. The maximum amount for awards is up to $35,000, but the top amount award will vary based on the final budget. There's no requirement for matching funds, and it is a project program based grant, and it lasts throughout the fiscal period, October 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027. To be eligible for the East Arts Award, you have to have been incorporated federally as a nonprofit, as a 501c3 with the IRS, and code for at least 1 year prior to the application deadline. So May 22nd, 2025 is before then is when you have had to incorporate your nonprofit. You must be registered with the DC Licensing and Consumer Protection Office as a domestic or foreign entity, have an active board of directors, and register and comply with the regulatory requirements of pertinent government agencies, including but not limited to DC Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, DC Office of the Chief Financial Officer, DC Department of Employment Services, and the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. And you must be current on all taxes and liabilities owed to the District of Columbia, or have an approved plan to resolve such taxes and liabilities with the DC Office of Tax and Revenue. Be in good standing with CAH. Have a principal business office address located in Northeast or Southeast quadrant of District of Columbia, matching the address on the Certificate of Liability Insurance and IRS Form W-9. So your headquartered address is your principal business address that is registered with the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. All right. And it has to be the same address on all of your forms. To apply for East Arts, or to be eligible for East Arts, you have to identify as a Black, Indigenous, or person of color centered organization. This distinction includes at least one of the following criteria: have at least 66% of staff identify as BIPOC, at least 51% of the board, steering committee, or other leadership body, and volunteers in leadership positions identify as BIPOC, and the executive director or highest paid staff member identify as a BIPOC individual. So one of these three things, it doesn't have to be all three, but one of these three things has to be a part of your organization, has to happen in your organization in order to be eligible for the East Arts grant. So ineligible applications for East Arts, we do not have a grant for individuals. Applicants are prohibited from submitting East Arts applications for projects that feature temporary or permanent public art projects. We do have a public art building communities grant in our public arts department. So East Arts does not cover that a project like that. Arts and humanities organizations with 51% of its programming taking place outside of the District of Columbia. So if more than 50% of your programming is in Maryland, you are not eligible for the East Arts grant. Tax exempt organizations other than 501c3 designated entities, so other type of tax exempt organizations, are not eligible. Private clubs and organizations that prohibit membership based on race, gender, color, religion, or any other classes identified in the District of Columbia Human Rights Act. Organizations that require fiscal agents or fiscal sponsors, for-profit organizations, private foundations, political organizations, colleges, universities, foreign governments, federal government entities, and other DC government agencies, including DC public schools. So if you're a DC government agency, you cannot apply. Organizations applying whose content is combined with the application of another organization. So proposed projects must be standalone projects. If you have partnerships and collaborations, that is one thing, but you and your organization alone should be applying for this grant. All right. Kristen, you have any questions so far? Moving too fast?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool beans. All right, so in order to get to the application, you can go to DC arts.dc.gov, or you can go straight to the submittable site. I cannot put that in the chat, but You can go straight to the submittable side. I'll put that in the chat in a little bit. And then you'll head to East Arts. If you don't have a submittable account, it'll prompt you to create an account. If you do have an account, it will have you log into your submittable account. All right. So there are 5 eligibility questions. You must answer all 5 questions to begin your application. And the 5 eligibility questions ask about if you're registered to do business, are you a 501c3, is your principal business office address in either Northeast or Southeast. It's not just if you're doing work in Northeast or Southeast, you have to be headquartered in Northeast and Southeast. Does the organization meet the qualifications for a BIPOC-centered organization? And if you've thoroughly read through the guidelines for the program to which you are applying to understand the process and conditions for applying for a CAH grant. And so if you'd like a copy of the application questions outside of the portal, you can reach out directly and I can get them for you. But this is where you'll start the application once you've answered all of the eligibility questions to make sure you are eligible as an organization to apply for this grant. And so 2 questions that we'll get out of the way about AI, right? So 2 questions are on the application. They are not there to negatively impact your application if you do use AI. So applicants are permitted to use AI in the creation and formatting of their application narratives. The answer to this question will be used for CAH purposes only and will not be shared with review panelists. So when your application is reviewed by a panel of panelists, then they will not be showed this question. The second question around AI, if you use artificial intelligence to create your work or support materials, will be shown to panelists, and they will use the review criteria that we provide to answer any questions or to discuss the use of AI in your actual arts and humanities work. So the application review criteria, we call these the 4 corners of the application. So based on your arts and humanities or arts education merit, that's 40%. Your community access and engagement in Northeast and Southeast is 20%. Community impact, 20%. Capacity and sustainability are also 20% of the application. All right. And so a few of the documents that we ask for in submitting your application, we want work samples. So work samples must be no more than 3 years old from the date of submission. Submitting older work samples may render the application ineligible for funding consideration. So you want to make sure your work samples are within the last 3 years. We do understand if you've been working on a very long project, like creating a film or something that may take a long time, that you will add work samples that may be older, but we want to make sure that you talk about those work samples explicitly in the narrative about why your work samples are older than 3 years. It has to be an intentional upload in that way. Support materials, so letters of support from teaching artists or participants, any awards you may have gotten, programs from like literal pamphlets or programs from programs that you've had, articles or publications. And we also ask for the resumes of the key personnel in your organization. So when we're talking about capacity and sustainability, we want to see if the folks in your organization have the capacity to carry out the project or the proposal that you are proposing. All right. So certificate of clean hands is another document that we ask for. It must be issued within 30 days of the application deadline. So you must create an account with mytax.dc.gov, validate your existing clean hands, or you can log in and request a certificate of clean hands. If your clean hand certificate comes back non-compliant, you can work on being compliant. You can upload your certificate of non-compliance, but we want to know where you are, because at the time of award, if you are awarded, you must have clean hands. They must be in compliance. All right. Another document we ask for, I made an entirely fake organization, the Islanda Robeson House. Shout out to Paul and Essie Robeson. This is not a real organization, but the statement of certification is basically telling us who we can talk to about the CAH grant, right? So If I am the executive director of this organization, I will sign it on page 4. But if there's somebody else, a creative director, an artistic director, a cultural director, or a development manager, grant manager in your organization that will be authorized to talk to CAH about the application, you want to add their name, their address, their title, and their contact information here. All right. So you want to make sure you have the name of your organization, click off that is a 501c3, the address of the organization. If you are applying for the East Arts program, which you are, it's the FY27 East Arts Grant program that you're applying for. The name of the second authorized user. If there's nobody else but you can keep this blank. But if there is someone else, you want to fill this in, and then the executive director wants to sign this and put their information in it as well, so that we know that there are multiple people that we can talk to. And if there's more than one person on your development team that we might be talking to, you'll want to fill out a statement of certification for each of those extra people. All right, otherwise we can't talk to them about the grant line. So the W-9. Now it's a lot of red here, sorry. So it must be Form W-9 revised March 2024. There are many versions of a W-9. We've got 2018, 2021, but it must be the 2024 version of the W-9. We want the name of your company, the name of your organization, not company. The name of your org should be here, number 1. There are a few ways to fill out a W-9 that are correct. We just want to make sure that you are listing it as a 501c3. So if that's in the payee code or the exempt code, or in the other section, you can list it there. But we want to make sure one of these says 501c3. All right. And you want to make sure your address is here. Also, you cannot apply with a PO box, right? It must match the address must match your certificate of clean hands. In the grant portal and on the DC government supplier portal, which you'll learn a little bit about if you are awarded. Also, be careful if you do use a mailbox or a WeWork, right? You want to make sure, if that's your headquartered address, you want to make sure we know that you are using the WeWork address. Like up front, you can let us know that this is a mailbox address. This is where we have our offices, but we do have offices here. But that's just something that we need to know, because sometimes that acts as a PO box as well. But it's a real address, so it gets a little bit tricky. All right. So your EIN number goes here, and the date must match your date of submission, or at least when you started your application. So the W-9 date must match at least the day you started your application, right? So it should be in May of 2026 that you have signed this W-9. So not an older W-9. And remember, we need 2024 version of a W-9. All right. Another mandatory document is the Certificate of Liability Insurance. This is a COI. It should have the Accord logo in the upper left-hand corner and Accord 25 in the lower left-hand corner. It should name your organization as the insured, and have that address that you put on your W-9 in the insured box. It either comes from your insurance broker or your insurance provider. No one in your org should be adding to or retracting anything from your COI. And questionable certificates of insurance will be verified directly with the insurance provider. Some more documents that we ask for: balance sheet. We ask for the current organizational budget, your IRS 501c3 letter of determination, the IRS Form 990, a list of current board of directors, a profit and loss statement as well. So those are all of the mandatory documents. Sorry, I moved too fast. And these are all in the RFA. These are all in the application. You will see them when you go to upload them, so you'll know what you need. There are other grants to consider during this FY27 period. If you would like to apply for projects, events, and festivals, that also closes on May 22nd. So does East Arts. The Capital Projects Grant Program opens June 2nd through July 7th. Our arts education programs, we have Arts Education and Humanities, open June 2nd to July 7th. Your field trip experience as well, the 2nd of June to July 7th. And then we have a few public art programs. What's open right now is the Public Art Building Communities um, program, and that closes July 27th. And so on our website, we have links to all of these organizational grants that you can apply for. If you are an organization that receives a general operating support grant from us, you can only receive one project grant. If you do not have a GOS, you can receive two of our project grants. So capital projects, arts education, projects, events, and festivals. However, you cannot overlap in project scope. So they have to be for two different projects or two different programs. They cannot overlap in scope at all. And also, Kristen, if you are interested, you can't panel for eStarts if you're applying for it, but we are always looking for panelists. So panelists review each of the applications. It is a great way. It is a great way to get really good at filling out applications and seeing the review process in real time. Usually it is a $250 gift card. I don't know if that will be the gift this time. But we are definitely looking for panelists. It is a very rewarding experience. Before I started working here, I was a panelist on a few grant panels, and it really added a lot of context to the process of applying. So we're always looking for panelists. If you're interested, the link is right here. You can put it in the chat. All right. Kristen, your own personal FY27 eStarts workshop. Do you have any questions for me, for us?
Yeah, so we're gonna be, since it's just two of us, we're gonna be applying for that project and events one where you can apply as an individual.
So PEP 5,
Um,
yes.
yes. I had a question about the work samples for that. So like with us, we're focused on pop-up museums. And so our work samples, a lot of them are like images we found in like, the DC Library Archive. Well, I was reading it sound like that counts as a work sample, but like, does that count? And then I have another question after that. So let me
So, so two things about PEP 5, right? If you are applying for grants as the organization, as the 501c3, you cannot apply for the pop-up museums as an organization and then apply for PEP 5. You can't do both of those things like as an individual. If you have another project that you're working on, an independent project, then that's something that you can apply for, but it can't be for this. If you apply
right.
for PEP 5, if you just apply for PEP 5 for the pop-up museums, that's where it has to that's
Happen.
where it has to stay. Yep.
Okay.
And
Okay.
also to the work samples, you're curating these pop-up events or these projects. So I would, if you're going to add the images, I would also talk about the curation of that, like how you found the images, the research that you did, because that's really the work that you're
Okay.
doing. Because if you're not actually creating these images, you are doing the research, you're doing the behind the scenes work to curate these exhibitions. I would talk about that work, and not just the
Just a
images
photo.
themselves. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a great help. Okay, because I was like, can we just, since we're like mostly working with like research, photos, and things of that nature. Um, okay, thank you for that. Let me look, because I was on the website this week. So I'm just looking back at stuff I wrote.
And there was a PEF workshop earlier today, so that probably will go out if you signed up for it. You can get the
See, I know. I think
this.
I mixed them up because then it was saying there was one yesterday, but it was like or on the fifth. But I guess
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so I was like, I think I'm in the wrong one when you started going over everything.
I'm so sorry for the confusion, but we're here so we can help you answer any
Okay,
questions.
yeah, yeah. Let me just. I'm just going turning in my journal to look at because I wrote some stuff down. Okay. All right, so that was the work sample question. Let me see. I'm just looking over. 'Cause if I don't, then we can go. Okay. What would be some like with applying for that grant, the PIF, right? What would be some things like that you would recommend we make sure to detail in our application?
That I can't answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's what I can answer for you. What specifically are you asking? Which details do you mean?
Like as far as structure wise, like of course, like we have a research background, so we explain things one way. But is there, since we know like all the panelists, like what would be a way to like explain like, oh, we want to do these pop-up museums. One is focused on DC Black pageantry, the other is focused on like DC portraiture, and then the other is going to be focused on like preserving like food memories of like DC, right? How like I guess just what what type of framing is kind of good for like the PIF.
That's leaning into a bigger territory that I can't answer those questions.
I
That's leaning into
understand.
like I can't answer those questions. But what I do suggest is that on the website is the RFA, so the request for applications. Thoroughly read that RFA around the project's event or festival's individual portion. I would thoroughly read that because I believe there is language about what successful applications look like. I would also go over the review criteria because remember, panelists are using the review criteria to evaluate your application. So look at that review criteria and you can kind of move your application, shift your application or use that review criteria to complete that application are the words that I'm looking for.
Okay,
So
okay,
you
that's
want to
good.
read the RFA thoroughly and look at the review criteria.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's all I have.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm glad that you came to uh the wrong one. But and there are more paths. We do live talks on Friday. So if you have more questions or if something else comes up for you, there are live chats on Friday. Lucy and Tanya are over the projects, events, and festivals program. They're awesome. You can ask them questions. Um, and that is today, Thursday?
Okay,
Thursday.
okay.
So it's tomorrow. Tomorrow they have a live chat.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, Kristen. And
Yeah.
if there's anything you need, I'm in person outside on Wednesdays and Fridays. So tomorrow I'll be at Grounded Wellness Shop in Southeast.
Oh, wow.
Wednesdays I'm at the Northeast Library and then Yellow on the 20th. So
Okay, my friend who's well my research partner, she is always talking about grounding. So okay.
so if y'all come out to Grounded, it is a lovely place to be. I'll be working there tomorrow and answering any questions folks have about East Arts. But if you just want to come say hi, I'll be there. So
Okay, okay. I'll make sure to tell her that. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
you are very welcome, Kristen. You have a beautiful day.